Welcome back to BYU Sports Nation. Jeremy Jordan alongside Jason Shepard in Studio B. We now welcome to the program Brian Howell of BuffZone.com to preview the matchup in the Alamo Bowl between the Buffs and the Cougars. Brian, last time we chatted, we were talking about maybe Colorado coming into the Big 12. Now we're both in the Big 12 playing in a bowl game that isn't a conference game, and there's a Heisman winner in Boulder. Oh, how the turns table, as Michael Scott once said.
Yeah, here we are. It's a conference game that's not a conference game, right? And it's an exciting matchup, I think. And, yeah, a lot has changed since the last time we talked. And, certainly the Cougars were already in the Big 12, and now the Buffs are there. And quite a turnaround for Colorado. And, 2 years ago, if you would have told me I was going to cover a Heisman Trophy ceremony, I would have asked you which team I was covering and why did I move. But now here I am in Boulder, and the Heisman's in Boulder. So it's crazy.
Can you put into words what the last 2 years have been like to cover this program, certainly from where it was, but then you add the Coach Prime effect and all of the attention that he garners and everything surrounding that. What is this program like to cover on a daily basis?
Well, it's more normal than I think people would think. It's not the circus that I think a lot of people have made it out to be. It's fun covering it. The access is not what we used to have, but I think it's a fun program to cover. And day to day, it's more football than circus. And just considering the football we've seen over the last 15, 20 years, it's a lot of fun to cover it because it's good football, and we haven't seen a lot of good football in the last decade or so. So it makes it a lot more fun.
What does winning a Heisman mean to the program and to the fan base?
It's a lot. I think, because it's Travis too, because he's not a guy that goes out in the media too much. He was actually scheduled to be at Big 12 Media Day and was a no-show. He was the only guy that was scheduled to be there that didn't show up. He just doesn't like doing media, but he's so out there with some of his podcasts and vlogs and things like that fans have gotten to know him. He's a very fun-loving guy, really good guy. And so the fans feel like they've really gotten to know him. And so I think that it means a lot to the fan base that he's the one that did it. And, it's been 30 years since Colorado had a Heisman Trophy winner. And I know some schools don't have one, but, 30 years is a long time. And I think the fans have really taken to Travis. And so it was pretty cool to see him win that.
Well, you've got the Heisman Trophy winner. You have the potential #1 overall pick in the NFL draft in Shedeur Sanders. And I hate to ask this question this way, but look, we gripe about when kids decide not to play in these bowl games, and we kind of pile on, and it's becoming more and more common that some of the bigger players don't play. Travis and Shedeur are going to play. My question to you is, why are they going to play? They don't have to prove anything. They have cemented what their stock is going to be. So why are they playing in this game?
Well, I think, first of all, Shedeur's dad's coaching, and I think he wants to, play one more game with his dad. And, Travis really views Coach Prime as a dad. So I think that relationship has a lot to do with it. I don't think if it was a regular head coach, meaning that it wasn't relation, I'm not sure they would play. But, Shedeur made a good point when we talked to him after the Oklahoma State game. He said, look, we understand that if we opt out, there's going to be a ton of guys that opt out, and this is not going to be the team that we put out here all year. And frankly, I think had they opted out, they might have had too many guys opt out to where they couldn't even play the bowl game. So I think they understand that aspect of it, and they realize that they're a huge part of this team and that it would not look good if they opted out and asked everybody else to play.
Is Colorado, like BYU, over the fact that it lost to Kansas and then didn't make the Big 12 title game? Because BYU fans are feeling that same thing, and we could have very well had this conversation, 3 weeks ago ahead of the Big 12 title game?
I don't know if they'll ever get over it, but I think they've slowly accepted the fact that, hey, this is just where we're going, and let's embrace the Alamo Bowl. And there was a lot of I don't know if anger is the right word, but very much disappointment when they got the Alamo Bowl, in part because the last two times CU's been to bowl games, which is not often, but it's been the Alamo Bowl. And so they wanted something a little bit different. And there was some disappointment that it was a conference opponent. I had to remind people that, yes, it's a conference opponent, but they haven't seen each other in 36 years. So it's not like you're playing Utah that you see every year. So I think people have gotten over it for the most part, and they're ready to embrace it.
There are certainly, storylines that are big and will get talked about regardless. What are the things that maybe you're following, whether it's players, certain positions, other storylines besides Travis and Shedeur and Coach Prime. What in this matchup? What are other things that you're following?
Well, one big one I think for both sides to watch for is Jimmy Horn Jr. Is one of their top receivers and has really not had the year that he wanted, partially because of injury. He's missed the last, I think it's 4 or 5 games. I think it was all of November he missed with an injury. And so they really want him to have a big game. Shedeur has said it publicly. We want Jimmy to have a big game. So watch out for him because, they are going to try to get him the football in this bowl game. And so I think that's a big one. And then just there's a lot of seniors, Coach Prime has mentioned it, that, they're going to go to the NFL or they want to go to the NFL that are trying to show out and look good one last time in a Colorado uniform. And so you have guys like even Shiloh Sanders and Cam Summan Craig and guys like that want to look good in a bowl game.
Talking to Brian Howell, writer for BuffZone.com here on BYU Sports Nation. Certainly BYU's number 3 pass defense efficiency versus one of the top passing offenses in the country will be a fun storyline to watch. Are there other storylines that you're even more intrigued by in this one?
I think just some of those seniors I was talking about, I think I'm looking forward to seeing, how those guys play and really how CU comes out and how focused they look. But I'm actually looking forward, I think, the basic storyline of this matchup. I mean, this is one that, I've wanted to see for a long time. I think BYU is the only FBS team in a neighboring state that CU hasn't played in the last 25, 30 years. So I'm looking forward to that matchup, and the fact that they play each other next year in Boulder, I think it's going to be kind of a fun preview for that a little bit. I know the team's going to look very different, but I'm just looking forward to seeing this matchup. What
concerns, if any, do you have about this Colorado team going into this matchup? Any weaknesses right now that you're looking to see how that plays out?
Well, I'm not overly concerned because of the way they've played this season, but there's partial concern with, how invested are they? And obviously Shedeur and Travis have been all over the country the last couple of weeks, gathering awards and things like that. And the Buffs really, for the most part, took almost 2 full weeks off. I know that they did some workouts, things like that, but they really got back together this week. I think they'll be focused, but you have to wonder with a lull like that, how good are they going to look? I think that's the biggest concern. And, they did lose one of their top defenders to the portal, Nakai Hill-Green, an inside linebacker that, was really one of their top defenders. He won't be there. And so I'm curious how that's going to change how the defense looks, because they've played very good defense all year, but he's been a big part of that.
Deion Sanders has certainly shaped the fortunes of Colorado football, and the future is always interesting with him, especially with perhaps both his sons gone. What does the future look like? Do Colorado fans expect him to be around for a while, or do they think he'll take another job at some point?
Well, they expect him to be around because he keeps saying he's going to be around. And so, and they're willing to right now to take him at his word. And, I'm surprised, honestly. I mean, I'm going to admit I was wrong. I mean, I really thought this was a 2-year deal and that once his sons were gone, he was going to leave. And it really does not appear that's going to be the case. I think, he's excited about building something long term. And I think he's excited about the challenge of building it without his sons and without Travis, who he does view as a son. So I think he enjoys that challenge. And you look at the guys they're bringing in, he's certainly not recruiting like a coach who is on his way out. And so I don't know how long he's going to be here, but from the start, I never really expected him to be here in 2025, and I think he definitely will be. So beyond that, we'll see. I think with Coach Prime, all bets are off as far as how long he's going to be here, but I do think he's here at least next year.
Yeah, signing Julian Lewis and Caden Salter from Liberty certainly makes it interesting at quarterback going into next year. Brian, we appreciate the time, and we look forward to the matchup on the 28th.
You bet. We'll see you in San Antonio.
Absolutely. Brian Howell of BuffZone.com.